Hey guys, Steven here today, and today I wanted to talk to you about everything you need to know about websites. I feel like with all this information overload and the latest gadget and this and that and so guru saying this, it's so easy to get confused about what web design really is about. So I'm just going to break it down and make it as simple as possible, right? The way I like to explain it is your house, right? Or your property. So to build a house, what you first need to get is a piece of land, right? Property. In web design, this is the domain. This is essentially the part where you choose your property or your land. This is the www.yourname.com. Think of it as you actively choosing a piece of land or a piece of property in their internet, right? What this means is that from this point on, anytime someone references www.yourname.com, they're referencing to your property or your land. This is essentially how we can identify your property, reference it, and essentially go to it, interact with it on the internet. It's as simple as that. Just like your property in real life is referenced by your street address, right? So 1111 Elm Avenue is my house, and anything referencing that address is referencing my house. It's as simple as that. So once you do that though, just because you get a piece of property or land, it doesn't mean that you're just automatically and magically going to get a house, right? So once you get the land, then you gotta call in the builders and to come work on the property, right? This is the hosting, right? So to essentially create a website and customize it to your heart's content, you need to purchase hosting, right? This is when you tell the builders essentially how the house is going to be designed. You know, is there going to be a furnace in there? Is there going to be a pool? Is there going to be a huge backyard? You're essentially setting the framework for the amount of resources and how the resources are built, right? So with hosting, you can essentially customize essentially the back end of the website, right? So how your database is ran, like what server is it running on, what software is the server using, things like that. Things that essentially matter in the operation framework or perspective of the website. There are numerous companies out there with really good hosting plans. Personally, I recommend GoDaddy.com because right now they offer really, really cheap hosting at amazing prices with incredible customer support, which to me is the most important thing. Every single time I call them for an issue, it gets resolved. And they're like the nicest, most welcoming, and heartwarming people most of the time, like 99% of the time. Once that's done, it's building time. This is essentially when you start picking out essentially what materials you want to use to build your house. Do you want red bricks or gray bricks? Do you want wood or ceramic. Things like that, like the actual appearance, right? So this is where the fundamental building of the website takes place. The building, the amount of pages, layout. So once you get hosting, you're essentially calling in the builders to buy the house. And then from then on, you can essentially pick what color you want your house to be, how many rooms, etc. Right? So from then on, you can go ahead and customize your website. Figure out how many pages you want, what the heading and the titles of the pages are going to look like, what the text and the font are going to look like, etc., etc. Right? From there, there are multiple ways of doing that. One way is, like in the good old days, is essentially manually hand coding every single web page on your own, opening up a text editor program, even using Notepad, saving the document as .html, and then going about your markup for your page, HTML tag at the top with the head following it and the title, and etc., etc. Another way, which is what I call programming like if you live in today's age, is using a number of new tools that are called content management software or systems, which essentially do the bit that I just mentioned and more for you, essentially facilitating the creation and production and programming process, right? Like you can still program and do all of that, but instead of having to start from scratch now, you can essentially focus on the most important part, which is doing customizing and fine-tuning and making sure that it looks just how you want it. Now, of course, just like a brand new house, simply because you built something doesn't mean people are just automatically going to come, right? Like when a new house opens up, for example, sometimes the owner has a housewarming party, or even they have open houses, things like that, that essentially bring awareness to the creation of this newly built home. This is the same idea in web design when we talk about generating and raising traffic to your website. For you to have visitors and have people visit the website, you need to get the word out there about your website. So there are numerous amount of strategies by which you can do this. One way is by building organic traffic or getting visitors to come through actions that you do directly. Maybe you leave the website address, name written on a piece of paper somewhere, or you make copies of this piece of paper and leave it out all over the city. Or another one is by posting it online and using online business ecosystems like Yelp and Google Plus and all these other directories to essentially get wording out there of your website and business. Another way is by using social media to essentially leverage the power of the social to raise brand awareness, foster a sense of loyalty around your brand, and create a following. Or even using paid ads and spending money on advertisement. There are numerous amounts of strategies, but the most important thing, because to be honest, I think I should leave this for another video, is to remember that simply because you build it does not mean that they will come. You still have to do extra work and make sure that it's known. So get after it. So that is the basics of web design. It's not this super complicated monster that everyone thinks it is. It really is recommended to know some programming, especially HTML and CSS, to essentially be able to have a good idea of what's going on whenever maybe you're troubleshooting an error or you're wanting to customize the appearance and layout of your website. But for them on, it's not as complicated as you think. Hope this helped, and as always, until next time.
Yeah, yeah.